Namaskar. Welcome to this series of Bhagavad Gita in daily life. Today we shall discuss how Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to remain ever happy in our life in all the situations of life. The only thing that will make us happy is being what we are. And how can we connect to this, our own real self, to remain happy all the time? Let us see what the timeless wisdom of Bhagavad Gita teaches us. So we all want to be successful in life, but whether success gives us happiness or not, we have never thought like this. We don't define what is success in our life, and that's why we keep on having endless possessions in our life. And this generally, what we define success is what the society sees us as successful in terms of having a name or being famous, having a lot of wealth, and along with it, a lot of comforts, possessions, and power. So this is how we define generally material success in our life, and that's what we yearn. But what our scriptures tell us is something very different, and it tells us that we, all of us humans, yearn only for happiness, and being successful also is a means to become happy, and that's why we yearn for success, because our eternal desire inside the one is always to be happy. So that is what we all want all the time. But successful persons may not be happy. And this has been our experience in our life, that we see all around people who are very wealthy, who have achieved a lot of power, fame, name. They will be very miserable, they will be unhappy, sometimes they even commit suicide. So a happy person is a person who is only satisfied with his or her own self. This kind of satisfaction is very important to be happy. So happiness is peace within us, and it is an inner attribute, not that is something which comes from outside. That is what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. And it also tells us that it is our own choice to be happy or unhappy. If we choose to be happy in any situation, nobody can make us unhappy. And this is how we can understand this happiness. So what are the types of happiness? Let us first look at this. So we generally feel that happiness comes from all these outer objects of desire, and this could be the divine, objects. Like people do a lot of good things so that they may think that they may go to a Swargaloka and have a lot of bhog over there. But most of the people don't think like this. They just think that whatever is there in this life, we should enjoy. We should have a lot of comforts, possessions, and then this kind of objects will give us a lot of sukha, happiness. And this could be generally by contact of our sense organs, our pancha indriya, with the objects which give us the senses, the seeing, listening, touch, feel, senses. All these our five indriyas will give us the sukha of the shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha. So this is how this is the outer happiness, and generally we equate happiness with this kind of a happiness. But some happiness may be just by thinking about some good things in life, some good things we may get happiness, and that's why we keep thinking about those desires. And then there will be some happiness which will come by the pride that we take in all of our wealth, our possessions, and our name, our lineage, our fame, our family, lot of this. And that is what is the abhimanik or the pride sukha. But beyond this, there is another happiness which we get in deep sleep, in sushupti. And this happiness is infinite. When we wake up in the morning, we are so happy. Oh, I had a wonderful sleep, uninterrupted sleep. So this also gives us a lot of happiness after a day of hard work. Everybody wants to go and have this happiness of sleep, which is also transient. We have to wake up in the morning, and this is tamoguni. But the sukha of meditation, the highest stage of meditation, which is called samadhi, happiness is also manifold, and it is a sattvic sukha. It is also transient till the samadhi lasts, but this is a much better happiness. But the highest level of happiness that our Vedanta teaches us is this atyantik sukha, the eternal peace or inner bliss that a yogi feels when he becomes wise, gets his self-knowledge, atma-jnana, or the knowledge of this existence, the divinity, Brahma-jnana, and that wise person gets param shanti, eternal peace or happiness. And this is the highest form of happiness, which is independent of any situations, persons, people, objects, or anything around us. So it is all that we feel within, deep within us. So the first adhyaya is the background of the story of Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna, when he comes to the battlefield of Kurukshetra in Mahabharata, he wants to fight and win this war, but when he sees all his opponents as his own brethren, his own cousins, his own guru, his Bhishma Pitama, all this, he becomes very sorrowful. He develops Vishada, and that's why it is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And this is the last shloka of the first adhyaya, where having said all that, he gave all the viparit, arguments to Krishna. He says, he goes to the backside of the chariot, sits down, and then he says, I don't want to fight this. He puts down his bow and arrow and says, Nayotsya, I don't want to fight this war. His mind is filled with a lot of sorrow, despair. And this is the background of Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna decides against war, and then what Krishna tells him, the entire message, the eternal timeless wisdom, message of wisdom, which Krishna gives. And ultimately the idea is to understand that it is just to, despair our own pain, sorrows, miseries, and all our grief. That is why, what is the eternal purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Here you can see that is the real purpose of Bhagavad Gita, because the second adhyaya, Bhagavan starts with giving some message. But before he starts his actual message, Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, these are some of the first words that he uses in Bhagavad Gita, that how to handle difficult and harsh situations. Sometimes God also has to use harsh words, and he tells Arjuna here, Klaivyam masma gamah partha, don't be unmanly, don't be like important, you don't have to run away. This attitude of running away does not befit you. You are a great warrior. Let go all your weak-minded emotions from the heart, Arjun. Get up and be a strong man. Fight this war. Do your duty. Whatever needs to be done, you must do. And this is a message to all of us. In any harsh or difficult situation that we have to fight with the situation. We are just fleeing or running away from the situation is not the problem. And that is the message. Shri Krishna is not trying to incite violence into Arjuna, because Arjuna anyway had come to fight this war. But what he's trying to tell Arjuna is that you do your dharma. Whatever is the right thing to do, whatever is the correct thing to do, you should do your duty well. And don't just think like this. Don't have attachments. Don't have unnecessary sorrow or grief. And you must do whatever needs to be done. And then there'll be a lot of situations in life where there'll be ups and downs. And we can say how we can remain happy when there is so many situations like this. Every day I have to face my boss. I have to face the music at home, and there are lots of issues. How can I remain happy? And Bhagavan tells Arjuna, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkadaha. All these sense organs, when they connect with the objects, there will be this experience of all the dualities of life. Shita, Ushna, there will be heat, there will be cold, there will be pleasure. Sukha, Dukkha, there will be pain sometimes. And all these are part of life. They are all agam apayana, means they come and go. They are all transient. They don't last long. So it's better that you endure this, Arjuna. Stan titikshasva bharata. And this is the message to us, to endure all these dualities of life. Sometimes somebody will praise us. Sometimes somebody will criticize us. People will talk all different types of things to us. And we have to endure them. We don't have to all the time, react to them, the situations. But we have to be a proactive person. And this is what we can do. We should do whatever best we can, accept what is the situation finally, rather than complaining about the situation all the time. And when there is confusion, Arjuna, what does he do? He surrenders to Krishna in this very famous shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhavaha. He is filled with faint-heartedness. He is asking to Shri Krishna that I am confused. Uchami tvam dharma sammuta chetaha. Yachreyasya nishchitam bruhitan. May you tell me whatever is most beneficial for me. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. I become your disciple. You please guide me. You please teach me. I surrender to you. Please tell me what is the best thing I should do in the situation. So whenever we are faced with confusing situations in life, when we don't know what is the best thing to do, the best way is to surrender to the eternal divinity. And this divinity will give us, from inside, will tell us what is the right thing to do. Our inner conscience will give us the answer. Sometimes we have to sleep over a problem, and then the answer will come from within. And this is how what we need to understand. So in the 11th shloka of the second Adhyaya, Shri Krishna starts his message, his eternal teaching that he wants to give. Is one of the main purpose of the incarnation of Shri Krishna, to give this message to the humanity. And he starts saying, telling Arjuna, do not grieve. Wise people don't grieve, he says. And this is the crux of Bhagavad Gita, that the idea is that we should not grieve, we should not be sorrowful, we should be ever happy all the time. And it says, you are feeling sad, Arjuna, for what is not worth it. And you are speaking like a wise man. Because for those who have left us, those who have passed away, those who have already died, and those who are with us all at the moment, those who are alive, Pandita na anushochanti, wise people do not grieve. So wise people have a kind of an understanding. What is that wisdom? And that is what Shri Krishna is revealing in the next shlokas. He tells how we can remain happy. What is that secret? He says, because happiness is just inside us. It is our own peace of mind. And this is the understanding that we need to have. Because when the mind is peaceful, all the miseries disappear. When we are happy, we are satisfied. There is no pain, there is no miseries. And for a person who is at peace, his intellect, buddhi paryavatishtate, becomes very firm, becomes sthita prajna, becomes a wise man. And that's why we should make peace as our first priority, our most valuable asset, which we have to protect at all times, irrespective of whatever situations we are in our life. So what we need to work on is our own self, because we need to develop some kind of a self-restraint, to have this peace of mind, because happiness is equated to peace, and peace can only happen when there is some kind of a self-restraint. And that is where we need to work on ourselves, because Shri Krishna says one who has no self-restraint, his knowledge never becomes firm, and one who does not devote or contemplate, there is no peace of mind. He says, Ashantasya kuta sukham, one who is not peaceful, how can he be happy? He can never be happy. So that's why we have to have peace of mind to become happy. And how we become miserable, Shri Krishna tells us in this 5th Adhyaya, he says, all these attachments and expectations are the root cause of miseries. One who is unattached to happiness by the outer contact of the sense organs and objects, all these outer sense-related pleasures that we get, doesn't make us happy. But one who is happy with his own self, that is a person, that balanced person who is firmly connected with the divine divinity, Brahma, Yoga, Yukta, Atma. He is a person who experiences lasting happiness, not the person who is always remaining in sense pleasures. And that's why an unattached person and a balanced person is the one person, Yukta Atma, a person, balanced person who is really a happy person. And who feels this inner bliss? This inner bliss is felt by the yogi, that wise man who achieves this eternal bliss, Atyantik Sukha, and whose buddhi, his mind, his intellect is all pure, is purified, his intellect is very firm, he knows what is the right thing to do. And this bliss is Atyendriyam. It cannot be achieved by the senses when they come in contact with the objects. It cannot come from the outer or the material world. And one who knows this state of bliss, he always remains happy. He does not waver from this state at any point of time. Na chalati tattvataha, remains firmly, sthita prajna in this area. And in the 16th Adhyaya, the Daivi and the Asuri Sampatti, Bhagavan Shri Krishna describes what is unlimited, constant anxiety is like an Asuri Sampatti. And many of us are, grasta. We are always behold with this kind of a constant anxiety about what is going to happen in the future. And these people who are affected by endless stress and tensions and anxiety, till their body comes to an end, pralayantam, and they are all attracted towards sense pleasures. That is what they feel is life is all about, to remain engrossed in the sense pleasures. And these people are never happy, and that's why unnecessary stress is an obstacle to our path of life. And how we can let go of this stress? In the 9th Adhyaya, Bhagavan tells us that those who are devoted to the Lord, who remembers the Lord with one point devotion, worships the Lord, and those who are already connected with the Lord, they see the Lord everywhere. Bhagavan says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam. For those kind of people, I take care of their yoga. Yoga means we all yearn for, desires have for achieving something, and Kshema means protecting those possessions, whatever we have achieved in our life. So all these yoga and Kshema, Bhagavan says, Vahamyam, I'll be taking care of all your yoga kshema. You don't need to worry. I'll take care of all those situations. You leave it to me. You surrender to me. That is what Shri Krishna is telling us. And then in the 18th Adhyaya, when he's summarizing the entire Gita Ji, Shri Krishna talks about 3 types of happiness: the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic sukha. And in this, he defines what is sattvic sukha, which is agre vishama, which is like poison, which is difficult to practice initially. It is not very comfortable, but pariname amrutopamam. It is, in the end, it is very, very, it is like a nectar, very sweet, very loving. We enjoy that. It is very peaceful. And this kind of sukha, which is perceived in our pure mind, pure intellect, which is devoid of all these tamasic or rajasic tendencies, this kind of sukha is a sattvic sukha. Bhagavan says we have to choose what is the correct thing to do, and the correct thing may be difficult initially. Say, for example, we want to go on a path which is give up addictions or give up our wrong habits and want to improve, go on to a healthy lifestyle, and all this that is sattvika, go on to yearning for knowledge, for creativity, for inventions, all these areas which are or we want to go on the spiritual path to understand the divinity and this eternal the divine knowledge. All these paths are initially difficult paths, but finally they become very, very nectar-like. They're very sweet because these are the correct choices rather than the comfortable choices. The second shloka he talks about, which are the rajasic sukha, all that worldly pleasures that we get from sense organs. When we get all these worldly pleasures are rajasic sukha, which are perceived by the contact of the 5 senses with the 5 objects, Jnanendriya and the Vishaya. Is initially agre amrutopamam. Whenever we are enjoying those, they are very nice. We enjoy them. It's a very transient pleasure, but we get some kind of a pleasure. Vedanta tells us it's an illusion of pleasure, because the real pleasure comes from our Atma Swarupa. These objects, they become nimitta for giving us a pleasure. Pariname vishama iva. So it is like poison, because this kind of pleasures that we indulge in, for example, in food or in worldly objects, they never give us lasting happiness. They ultimately give us some kind of a disease or some sorrow, some pain, endless endeavors to go in for wealth or possessions or unhealthy lifestyle gives us a lot of diseases in the long run, or it incites a lot of greed, violence because of the imbalance and unharmony in our life. And the third type is the tamasic sukha, Shri Krishna says, which initially as well as later always confuses or dilutes moha. It creates a mind which is confused. We don't know what is the correct thing to do. For example, all the addictions never tells us what is the correct thing to do. We always feel that this is good. Doesn't allow the person to take a very judicious or a balanced decision. And this kind of happiness is obtained from excessive sleep, laziness, carelessness in duty, nidra, alasa, and pramada, uttam. And this kind of attempt, this is a sukha, is a tamasic sukha. Our endeavor in our life should be to attempt to change our tamasic and rajasic sukha into sattvic sukha. And once we are in the sattvic sukha, then we have to, go beyond this and get into understanding the divinity behind all this Traigunya Vishaya. Veda says, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. You rise above all these 3 gunas. And then whenever we feel helpless, we have to remember that there is something beyond us. There is a creator on whom everything is dependent. And how Shri Krishna is telling this same thing in 18th Adhyaya. He says, hey Arjuna, don't worry. God is there sitting inside the heart of all the beings. Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddeshe Arjuna tishtati. He says that he is sitting inside us as a divinity, antaryami. Brahmayan sarva bhutani, makes all the beings go round and round, doing our, whatever we need to do. Yantra rudhani maya, as if we are sitting on a machine, and by his maya, by his magic, we all go round and round. And that is what we need to understand, that sometimes we feel helpless, but we have to understand that there is something, some force, some divinity beyond us, and that can be obtained only within us. So coming finally to the end of this session, the understanding that Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta tells us is that outer happiness and inner peace, what we should focus, what is the correct choice we should think. Outer happiness or Vishaya Sukha, they are obtained from the outside objects, persons, situations, possessions, all this. that is from outside, and it occurs because the sense organs come in contact with those objects. Our five jnanendriyas, chakshurendriya, shrotrendriya, tvagendriya, all these jnanendriya, they all come in contact with the outer objects, and this gives us a sense of happiness. And we are dependent here on the objects, because till that time the objects are there either in front of us or in our mind. It gives us the temporary pleasure, and these pleasures are very, very transient pleasures, and they make us always make us unsatisfied. We are never satisfied with the pleasures. They are very transient. We always want more and more, more and more, and that's why they are a cause for a lot of anxiety, stress, pain, misery, sorrow, and problems. And only unwise people, according to scriptures, will indulge in this kind of happiness. On the other hand, the inner bliss, the Atma Sukha, is something which we have to, experience within us. And this, there is no sense object connection. Sometimes we just sit in the silence and we get some kind of a sukha. When we are sleeping deep sleep, this is a sukha. And when we obtain this wisdom, we get this kind of sukha, which is independent of any outside objects, which is permanent, especially the Atma Sukha, inner bliss, and it makes the person fully satisfied. He is fulfilled completely. There is no yearning, and this is the inner peace, and this is one which is pursued by the wise people. So to summarize the vision of Bhagavad Gita, what it tells us, that real success is to remain happy all the time, and that happiness, which is permanent, it's part of our own self, which comes from within us. Our own satisfaction with our own self, what we are doing, gives us this kind of happiness. Our own peace of mind brings us this kind of happiness. But for this, we have to work towards being happy. It is not given to us. We have to have the correct understanding, understand the scriptures from a learned guru in the right way, the correct understanding, and then follow this, assimilate this understanding, this knowledge, and practice this in our life. In life, there will be ups and downs, a lot of situations where Bhagavan says, Tan titikshasva bharata, oh Arjuna, you endure this, because they are all the dualities of life. They are part of life. They are part and parcel of this life. It's a package as it comes. And that's why we need to learn to endure these situations. Pandita na anushochanti. Wise man, do not grieve. If you are really wise, if you have wisdom, you are not going to grieve. If you are grieving, that means you don't have the right understanding. Arjuna, through Arjuna, it's telling all of us that we need to understand what is the right wisdom. And if we get the right wisdom, we will never grieve if we become wise. And there is no peace, there is no happiness. Ashantasya kutah sukham. Without peace, there cannot be happiness. And that's why we should all yearn for that inner peace to become happy in our life. And yoga kshemam mahamvyam. Try to understand that there is a force, a higher force behind us, beyond us, which carries out everything. We are just like a Katputli, like a puppet in the hands where yantra rudhani maya, Bhagavan says. And we should try to remain calm, composed in all the situations of our life by this understanding, and then we can remain eternally or ever happy in all the situations. With this, we come to the end of this session. I pay my gratitude towards the Lord, to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is transferred to reach us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Puja Guruma, with whose grace I am to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.